Ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to tell you guys about this story, and I thought it was a little bit odd, and it definitely has a lot of moving pieces to it. Now, I'm going to say some things that are not going to sit well with your sensibilities because I'm going to have my opinion about the things that are going on in our world. So if you can't handle that, I do understand, then this might not be the channel for you. But for now, I'm going to give you guys the details about this story because it's a little bit odd, okay? Now, there was a little girl that you guys see right there on my screen right there. Let me see if I can find one of my favorite pictures of her because she seemed to be a very happy little girl. Look just like, y'all can see from this photo. Look just like her dad too. Let me see if I can pull that photo up with that big old bright smile. Give me a moment. Let me see if I can find it. Beautiful little baby girl. Right here. This is at least one of them. But she seems to be a happy, typical 7-year-old child. But let me tell you guys about her story. Her name is Julissa Batiz, which is spelled Julissa, and I hope that I'm pronouncing this baby's name correctly. If I'm not, please understand that some of these names are so unique, they can be a little bit difficult to pronounce. Julissa Batiz, B-A-T-T-I-E-S, was found unconscious with a head injury and had been the subject of a child welfare case since birth. That paragraph alone is a mouthful, and let me explain why. This girl did not stand a chance. Let me explain why. She has been the subject of child welfare cases since she was born. Year after year, after year, after year, after year, after year. Thank you. Plenty of red flags. I'm not so sure that we can blame the system, especially when a lot of these things are not happening. The system is not the one beating these kids, spanking these kids, abusing these kids, punching these kids, abducting these kids, molesting these kids, shooting these kids, and drive-bys. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? I hope everybody's not getting pissed off yet. We're just getting started. Don't run off yet. If you guys are listening, please click the thumbs up. It will help share this baby's story because her story does need to be heard. She's a beautiful little girl. Her father is distraught. And I'm going to tell you guys something. I don't say this often, but I believe that this father is really, really distraught. Because a lot of times we end up not really hearing from a lot of fathers in general. But this is the biological father of that baby. We're going to talk to him. We're going to talk about him here in just a moment, okay? But that alone is a huge portion of the story. She's been the subject of abuse her entire life. How in the F word is that even possible? How is that even possible? Life in a 10th floor apartment in the Bronx was supposed to be a new start for Julissa Batiz and her mother, from who she had been taken at birth over safety concerns. Life in a 10th floor apartment in the Bronx was supposed to be a new start for Julissa Batiz and her mother, from whom she had been taken at birth over safety concerns. From birth. This baby was lucky to make it to 7 years old because it sounds like she was already on a bad path. And I want you guys to remember, you can point these things as a failure on the system, or you could do like what I do and point it at the source. The source is those who procreated to bring this baby to fruition. The biological mother and biological father. That is always going to be the source of our issues. We can start to look outside of that and start to look at the family. But for now, I want you guys to remember and bookmark that part of the story. But their reunion came to an abrupt and violent end on Tuesday when Julissa, who was 7 years old, was found unconscious with a head injury and died at the hospital, the police said. On Wednesday, a high-ranking police official said that the girl's 17-year-old half-brother, 17-year-old half-brother. I know that's a lot to unpack. Her 17-year-old half-brother had admitted to beating this baby. Because he believed that she took some food, took some snacks. And you guys have heard me say this many, many times, that the most egregious thing that you could possibly do, among a lot of things, I think the worst thing that you could do is starve a kid. Because children and babies, children can't speak for themselves. They can't defend themselves. They can't go out and go work. They can't earn a job. They can't earn a living. They can't provide food for themselves. So for them to be deprived of food is probably one of the worst things I can think of outside of the actual physical abuse. And the way I feel is if children are hungry, and now of course we have to be responsible. You don't ever want to overfeed, overindulge in anything. That's kind of an all-around message. That's an all-encompassing message. But if it's something simple like snacks, I believe that children should have access to that, and we should have access to that responsibly. But this baby was suspected of taking snacks. No charges, and I repeat, no charges have been filed, and investigators were waiting for a medical examiner to determine the official cause of this baby's death. Now, police officers and medics were summoned around 8 a.m. on Tuesday to the apartment in the Mitchell houses where the siblings lived with their 35-year-old mother by the name of Navasia Jones. Navasia's name is spelled Navasia. And no, I don't have a picture of her. I didn't go really scouring the internet for a picture of her. But with her being 35 years old and having such a unique name, I'm sure it won't be hard to find her. Navasia Jones, that just sounds like a person that's probably not going to be a mother. Like if I had to choose a mother and I'll find out, like if I could choose who my mother was going to be and I hear, well, do you want Navasia as your mother? You want her to be impregnated with you and give birth to you? I'd be like, hell no. Navasia? That sounds like a death sentence. Y'all getting mad at me yet? But I'm being dead serious. I just don't believe that people take children's lives and their future seriously, especially when you go out of your way to give your children such unique names that are going to make them stand out, potentially get teased, and give them a complex, right? So we're talking about deep-rooted issues because, one, you would have to ask, what would cause a parent to be a bad parent? I don't think people just are inherently bad. I think that they become bad. It's just like when children are born. They're just not automatically evil and bad. They have to be put through things and taught things. They are molded that way. And you cannot tell me that this mother is not a bad mother when this child has been the subject of child welfare cases since this baby was born over a 7-year period. Let's keep going. Navasia Jones is 35 years old and Jaleesa's 1-year-old brother. A neighbor who had previously reported abuse in the apartment watched from the halls as medics tried to revive the girl, then as her mother followed them to the ambulance. So it makes me wonder if the mother was even there. Shortly after 9 a.m., the baby was pronounced dead at Lincoln Medical Center. As Jaleesa's life slipped away, her mother told the police her daughter had fallen and hit her head on a desk around 5 a.m., then started vomiting 3 hours later. How many times have we heard this story? Can anybody in the chat right now, if you guys are listening to the sound of my voice, let me make sure that this chat is working. Y'all type something in the chat and let me know if you guys can hear the sound of my voice. And can y'all explain, because everybody can see what you guys type, and let the people know how many times you have heard this excuse that these children who end up dying from physical abuse, they did it to themselves. They fell. They slipped and fell on something. How many times have you guys heard that? I've stopped counting. The mother said, and I think this should be an arrestable offense because it is her words based on what this article says. It says she told police that her daughter had fallen and hit her head on a desk around 5 a.m. and 3 hours later she started vomiting. But you would also have to ask yourself, is that not at least child neglect on the mother's part? Even the history alone should tell you that there's something wrong with the mom. Yes? But then 3 hours later, and during that time, you didn't take this baby to go get seen by a doctor, not the hospital, not an urgent care clinic, nothing, really? But there were other unexplained bruises on the girl's body. So here's where the story starts to get really on the deep end. Her older half-brother later told investigators about their dispute, according to the police official who spoke on the condition of anonymity to disclose details without authorization. And I can respect that. He was taken to a facility run by the Administration for Children's Services. The case recalled the death of the 7-year-old, or excuse me, the case recalled the death of 7-year-old Nix Mary Brown in 2006. I'm sorry if I pronounced that name wrong, which forced an overhaul of the Child Welfare Agency, although a string of children's deaths have followed under the agency's watch. So Nix Mary was beaten after a family member accused her of taking food without permission. Another story. At least she didn't say a bathtub. Thank you, True Crime Chaos. Many, many times they use the same excuses, like they go read a book of all the ways to blame a death of a child on themselves. And again, with this food thing, I just would never understand that, but it sounds like they were depriving this kid of food. The same reason Jaleesia's brother hit her, according to the police official. Now, Yolanda Davis, who is Jaleesia's paternal grandmother, which is that lady right there. Let me see if I can get a better photo of her so you guys can see, but that is the paternal grandmother on dad's side. Paternal grandmother said that she raised the girl for most of her life until April of 2020, when she turned the girl over to her mother for an extended visit. I want to preface this, and I hope Yolanda Davis is listening, and I hope she doesn't get mad about what I'm saying. I sincerely hope that was done through the courts. You know why? Because if it wasn't, if you did something and this mother wasn't supposed to have access to this kid, that means that the grandmother should also face charges. Does everybody understand what I'm saying, or am I going too far? If I'm going too far, y'all can let me know. Don't be afraid to give me your honest opinion. Let me explain it again. If the grandmother had legal custody, the custodial guardian of this baby, and she wanted to be nice and let the mom see her baby because she felt in her heart obligated as a mother, and let the mother try to be a mother, some semblance of a mother to this little girl, so this little girl can know her mom, be around her mom. And if you let her go visit for an extended visit and the child ended up dead, if it was not done through the courts, and I want you guys to remember that the mother did not have custody of this little girl for a damn reason. Now, again, as a reminder, and I know the stream just cut off, we had a little bit of buffering, so I do want to apologize, but let's pick back up. Yolanda Davis is Jaleesia's paternal grandmother, and she has raised this girl for most of her life until April of 2020, when she turned the girl over to her mother for an extended visit. And all I was basically trying to say is that I hope that she was doing that in a legal capacity. If she had permission from the state or whoever it is that gave her custody to let the mom see the girl, then fine. But I'm pretty sure that that's not the case, because a lot of times they get to plucking on the heartstrings because they feel sad for the mom, because the mom don't get to be with her daughter and the daughter should be able to be with her mom. So a lot of times people in these situations where the kids go to a family member, it could be an irresponsible thing to let those children see those who have been disrespectful to these kids, abusive to these kids, and neglectful to these children. Okay? So the grandmother could potentially be investigated for giving this kid up when she shouldn't have been around the mom. Now, the Child Welfare Agency decided to return Jalecia to her mother permanently. Okay, so maybe that was done through them. Miss Davis said, and the child was never returned. Miss Davis said, and the child was never returned to her care. I begged them not to let her go back with the mother, and now here we are. A lawyer for Ms. Davis said that the decision to return Jalecia to her mother had been made by ACS at the recommendation of the foster care nonprofit called SCO Family Services, which managed Jalecia's case for the Child Welfare Agency and placed her with Ms. Davis. Now, ACS declined to comment on Jalecia's case, citing confidentiality laws, and the foster care agency did not immediately return a call on Wednesday evening. We're going to give you guys some more details. And again, if you can't handle these details, I totally understand. But I need to make sure that you guys are well aware of what all we know so far about this baby, okay? And again, I want to remind you guys with this little baby girl, that's Jalecia. And I want you guys to remember, this baby has been the subject of Child Investigative Services since the day that she was born, for 7 years. All this girl has known was instability. Instability and dysfunctionality. Even if that's not a word, we're going to make it a word tonight. Dysfunctionality. Records show that the family has a long history of involvement with child welfare authorities, and police have been to the family's apartment several times before. Several times. I would love to know what several times is. Like 20, 30, 50, 100, 200? How many times do you have to keep getting call after call after call to the same god dang place? Excuse my language. I'm trying not to cuss. Or curse. Curse. I say cuss sometimes. Trying to mind my language. Those are clear red flags if you continue to have to keep coming back to the same place. How does that make any sense? Michael Roberts, a neighbor, said that as recently as Friday, his girlfriend had called the authorities after seeing this baby with a black eye. Wow. The neighbor saw something and said something. That's really all they can do. That's all they can do. They saw something and said something. There was always a lot of commotion, always yelling and always screaming, Mr. Roberts said. Now, police officials said that they were not notified about the incident until Tuesday because it had been reported directly to Child Welfare Agency and not through 911. So they were limited as far as what they could, as far as what they either knew or what they could go do, because when they give it to Child Welfare Services, they generally won't tell the police anything. They keep them in the dark like mushrooms. And Lee Hellinger, and thank you for saying that, she said, great job, CPS. I'm sorry, but I try not to blame Child Protective Services, but they failed here. They definitely failed here. How many of you guys, if you guys are listening to the sound of my voice, if y'all would, please do me a favor and click that thumbs up. I do apologize that the stream had ended abruptly, but we are back. We will get these stories told. We want to make sure and get these baby stories told, but you can help us by clicking that thumbs up. It'll help share this video, okay? Please click that thumbs up. A black eye on a baby that was either 7 years old or less. The police officials say that they were not notified about the incident until Tuesday because it went straight to child welfare services. Around 7:45 a.m. on Tuesday, Mr. Roberts, the neighbor, said that the mother, Navasia Jones, when you have a name like Navasia, you shouldn't even be allowed to be a mother. Navasia. You could have went with Nevaeh, which is heaven spelled backwards, like most people do, trying to give their kids some weird, I guess, name that has some type of meaning, I guess. Or Asia. But Navasia. I guess you tried to mix the two together. Navasia was banging on her neighbor's door on the 10th floor and yelling, "My baby can't breathe and my daughter's not breathing." What? Why would you bang on your neighbor's door and not call 911? How much sense does that make? What? I'm going to read this again. 7:45 a.m., the neighbor said that Navasia Jones was banging on all her neighbors' doors on the 10th floor and yelling, "My baby can't breathe. My daughter can't breathe. She's not breathing." But y'all want to defund the police. Y'all want to defund all of these vital services that we actually need, though, right? But you'll get mad if the police don't show up because you're paying them less than half of what they're supposed to be getting, as far as their pay, though, right? It's really weird. He said he did not open the door right away, but he stepped into the hallway after a few minutes and saw several emergency medical technicians pumping Jalicia's chest in her bedroom. He said he saw Mrs. Jones and Jalicia's 17-year-old brother at the apartment, then watched Miss Jones follow the workers as they carried Jalicia to the ambulance. Officers have filed at least 9 domestic abuse reports involving the family and responded to 5 calls for someone in need of medical attention, according to a second police official who did not have information about the timing and outcomes of these incidents. Mr. Roberts said that he has spoken to police and social workers from ACS about the family on several occasions. So again, I want you guys to remember that they were limited as far as the information that the police knew. In 2013, the year before Jalicia was born, Miss Navasia Jones lost custody of her 4 older children. Let me say that again, and let me know if you guys can hear the sound of my voice. I know my stream is having a little issue. I pay my bill. I don't know what's going on with my internet, but it seems to want to act funny sometimes. In 2013, before this child was born, this mother lost custody of 4 other children. Not 1, not 2, not 3, 4. Because if you can hear my voice, please type a 4 in the chat. This mother lost custody of 4 children. Let me ask you guys a question. This might be a stupid question to ask, but I still have a question. How is it possible, when we're always talking about deadbeat dads, I want to know what y'all call this. What do you call a mother who loses custody of not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 whole human beings that she gave birth to, and is allowed to get pregnant and give birth to a 5th child? These 4 over here are gone, and she get to just have another one. What do you call that? Can we start being creative? You know, us as the AFC, we come up with a lot of really cool hashtag, like hashtag babies for benefits, which is what this mother Navasia Jones did. She only has these children because she is collecting benefits, because it pays for her a place to stay it pays and has, she's able to put people on child support. She's able to get food stamps. She's able to get Section 8, probably car vouchers, probably tax credits, probably stimulus checks. Did I already say child support? Yeah. Trying to control all these different men. What do y'all want to bet that she probably has 3 to 4 different baby daddies? Yes. Is this not the perfect story to explain our hashtag and our t-shirt, hashtag babies for benefits? Please somebody tell me if I'm lying. What I want us to come up with a very creative term to call this type of mother. Because when you think deadbeat, you generally think of a man, of a father. I want y'all to come up with a term for what you would call a mother. And I want it to be something really creative, and then that's going to be something that we use here on our channel. I want y'all to keep that in mind. Now, after a family court judge initially granted Navasia Jones, they call her Miss Jones. Why does the mother need any respect? Navasia, they initially granted Navasia custody of Jalecia, the little girl. ACS appealed, arguing that Jalecia's safety was endangered by the failure of the mother and Jalecia's father, Julius Batiste, we'll talk about the father here in a moment, to exercise a minimum degree of care. In 2015, the appellate judges ruled in favor of the Child Welfare Agency, finding that Navasia Jones, despite completing mandated parenting skills and anger management programs, was still prone to unpredictable and emotional outbursts. And a lot of that is because they are raised this way. They believe, and it's not all women, and I'm sure most people understand, it's not all women, it's not all mothers. But there are too many children that are being raised under roofs, under single mothers, where these mothers become infallible, and they think that their word is law, and nobody's word and nobody's authority means anything except theirs. Because in a lot of cases, they get away with stuff that no other human being would get away with. Infallible. That's where that mentality comes from. Even on supervised visits with her older children, she was easily provoked and agitated. She didn't love her kids at all. Until the mother is able to successfully address and acknowledge the circumstances that led to the removal of the other children, the judge wrote, we cannot agree returning Jalecia, even with the safeguards imposed by the family court, would not present an imminent risk. Now, Jalecia went to live with Navasia Jones, her mother, first provisionally last year, then permanently a few months ago. Brian Zimmerman, a lawyer for Mr. Batiste, confirmed. A lawyer who represented Mrs. Davis, Yolanda Davis, the grandmother, said that Navasia Jones had refused to allow the grandmother to see Jalecia after getting her back. Mrs. Yolanda Davis's petition for visitation was scheduled to be heard this fall. That's the grandmother. She had another hearing as the grandmother, and the grandmother was trying to exercise her legal rights. And just like Anaya Day Garrett was robbed of being able for her father to win custody in the courts, this grandmother was robbed of her opportunity to win custody of her grandbaby back. Robbed of it. Just ran out of time. Miss Davis is distraught when she arrived at Jalecia's building on Wednesday afternoon. She said, I'm very numb. I'm very hurt. I need justice to be done. A lawyer who represented Navasia Jones in the family court case declined to comment, of course. In the lobby of the building on Wednesday, there was a small memorial for the girl, stuffed animals, candles, and a bouquet of red and purple flowers. Thank God, no balloons. Glad to hear that. Upstairs, Jalecia's bedroom was visible from the hallway as police officers entered the apartment. There was a little book bag with Mickey Mouse on it, along with a can of Pringles and some Elmer's glue. Mr. Roberts, who was 31, the biological father, said he had seen Jalecia on Sunday in the elevator with her mother. The girl wore sunglasses, or I'm assuming that's the father, Mr. Roberts at age 31. Anyway, an earlier version of this article misidentified the relative with whom Julissa Baptiste went to live with last year. It was her mother, Nevasia Jones, not her grandmother. Okay, cool. So we got that. But let me let you guys hear the news videos. Let me give you the fair usage. Let's take a look at the news videos. Let's get it. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107.
There is heartache tonight after the death of a 7-year-old girl in the Bronx. Julissa Baptiste was pronounced dead at a hospital on Tuesday after being found unconscious inside an apartment on Alexander Avenue. Her grandmother says the girl went to the apartment last April for a court-ordered weekend visit with her mother. Yolanda Davis says she repeatedly tried to get her granddaughter back, and she told our Corey James in an exclusive interview she didn't know why she was being allowed to stay with the woman she says abused the child.
At the age of 4 years old, the date was April 13, 2018. And what my granddaughter said was, "Mom hit me with a hammer."
The cause of death has not been revealed. ACS says they are prohibited by state law from sharing.
I want y'all to hear that again. Let me back that up, and I want y'all to hear what this baby told that she went through. Listen to what Grandma said again.
Years old. The date was April 13, 2018. And what my granddaughter said was, "Mom hit me with a hammer."
Mom hit her with what?
He says abuse the child.
If y'all heard what she said, can y'all type it in the chat, please?
At the age of 4 years old, the date was April 13, 2018. And what my granddaughter said was, "Mom hit me with a hammer." April 13, 2018. And what my granddaughter said was, "Mom hit me with a hammer."
And this girl was allowed to go back home with her violent ass, short temper mother, and she got hit with what?
2018. And what my granddaughter said was, "Mom hit me with a hammer."
Keep in mind, the baby survived the hammer attack. This is stupid.
Tonight, there's heartache for a family of a 7-year-old girl who was found dead in the Bronx on Tuesday. So far, no one's been charged. CBS 2's Thalia Perez says the girl's father, who is desperate to know what happened.
She said that we win, that she loved me. And I was the best dad. I feel like I'm feeling my baby.
Julissa Baptiste cries as he describes his last phone call with his 7-year-old daughter.
That's the biological father right there.
Julissa Baptiste, who died Tuesday at her home where she lived with her mother and brothers.
She was crying out for help. Nobody did nothing for my baby. And I just want justice for my baby.
Baptiste says his daughter moved in with his mom, her grandmother, when she was just 5 days old. She lived in Crown Heights with her grandmother up until March of last year, when her mom won custody and she moved to the Mitchell houses in the Bronx. Police confirm that they've responded to more than a dozen domestic violence calls and complaints at the home. It's not known, though, if those calls came before or after March.
A dozen phone calls. Y'all hear? Yes, a freaking hammer. Thank you. Exactly. Mom, your mom hit you with a hammer? That's not normal, man. That's not normal at all. But again, that's why my solution is a catch-all solution, and I want y'all to hear me. I want y'all to hear me. My catch-all solution is you as a parent should never put your hands, feet, or other objects, including hammers, on these children. You should never put your hands, feet, or other objects on these children. Period. If you do, then you are not a suitable parent. If you have to be physical with a child, if a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old child is not going in the direction that you want them to go, if they're causing you to be that short-tempered, you should not be a parent at all.
Then on Tuesday, police say Julicia's lifeless body was found with blunt force trauma to her stomach and trauma to her face and arms.
I have fought, I have did fair hearings, I have did interviews. They told me I had to do independent review.
The circumstances surrounding the Administration for Children's Services decision to return Julicia.
I've heard of Peter going to go investigate dog fighting rings with 1 or 2 phone calls and getting people arrested and get people jail time. So you mean to tell me that in our society, in this world, that we care more about animals than we do babies, children, those who are the most defenseless of us? That's really sad. Good job, society. Good job.
To her mother's custody is unclear. ACS is prohibited from speaking about the specifics of this case, but did say our top priority is protecting the safety and well-being of all children in New York City. We are investigating this case with the NYPD. But Davis maintains that ACS should have never removed her granddaughter from her home in the first place because she says she'd still be alive.
They have failed me, my son. They have also failed my granddaughter big time.
This is exactly where the system absolutely failed. This is a failure on the system. Absolutely. Let's keep going. 2 more videos.
An investigation underway this morning after the tragic death of a 7-year-old girl in the Bronx.
Matter of fact, we haven't even got to the charges of the 17-year-old yet. We haven't even got there yet.
An investigation underway this morning after the tragic death of a 7-year-old girl in the Bronx. Now the child's grandmother is speaking out and demanding answers. CBS 2's Corey James reports from Mott Haven, where he spoke exclusively to the grandmother.
The mother explained that the child hit her head on a table.
Do you believe that?
No.
The grandmother of this 7-year-old little girl is living her worst nightmare. Tuesday morning, police say they found Julicia Baptiste unconscious inside an apartment on Alexander Avenue in the Bronx. A police Yolanda Davis tells us her granddaughter, who she has raised since birth, went last April for a court-ordered weekend visit with her mom.
The weekend became 90 days. 90 days became, you have to do an independent review.
Davis says she repeatedly went to ACS and SCO Family of Services to get her granddaughter back, not knowing why she was being allowed to stay with a woman she tells us abused the young child.
I have a question, and I have a question for the people who are listening in the chat right now. And again, don't forget to click that thumbs up. I have a question for you guys. If this mother was such a bad mother and clearly didn't want her kids, why was she fighting so hard to keep this baby? When the paternal grandmother clearly was doing a better job of raising and protecting this baby, and maybe even the biological father. Why not just, out of all the kids this woman had, at least 5 kids, why not just let this one just go on over there with grandma and just live a happy life and grow up and become something great? Why did they have to go out? I want y'all to hear this. They had to go out of their way to ruin this baby's life. Y'all understand? All the mother had to do was say, fine, it is what it is, and leave it alone. She forced her hand and forced the system to give her this child back. And the baby would have lived and been fine. But why do I think the mom did this? Because maybe she was going to be losing some of her benefits from the babies that she had. Yes, babies for benefits. Let's keep going.
At the age of 4 years old, the date was April 13, 2018. And what my granddaughter said was, Mom hit me with a hammer.
The NYPD would not give specific information.
I can't get over that. Mom hit me with a hammer. What kind of stupid crap is that? You just can't be that level of dumb. You can't be that level of dumb.
2018. And what my granddaughter said was, Mom hit me with a hammer.
The NYPD would not give specific information surrounding the young child's death, but one neighbor who did not want to be identified says she made calls to child services multiple times.
I would hear screams. They came, they spoke to them. I seen her with a black eye on like Thursday or something like that. So that's why I called ACS, because she told me her mother did that to her eye.
5 days later, this bright-eyed little girl was dead. Loved ones and neighbors created a memorial for Jalecia in the lobby of the building and in front of the apartment she was in, a home this grandmother says her granddaughter should have never been allowed to stay.
ACS and SCO services has failed me. I was trying to keep this from happening.
And now she is facing what she feared. In the Mott Haven section of the Bronx, Corey James, CBS 2 News.
Daughter was walking around black eyes and all of that. Next day,
We don't hear any protesting. Thank you, Karen. We don't hear any protesting about this.
Daughter was walking around black eyes and all of that. Next day, they see her with shades on at a party. I can't even sleep. She was my best friend.
Julius Batiste lost his 7-year-old daughter, Jalecia, to a suspected child abuse death on Tuesday. But he hadn't seen the little girl since she was 2 because he said Jalecia's mother was constantly making domestic violence complaints against him and his mother, Yolanda Davis.
The book is consists of all the ACS cases.
From the time Jalecia was born, her parents were battling it out for custody. Julius Batiste's mother, the paternal grandmother, said she got custody of baby Jalecia on May 1st, 2014.
She'd been here since she was 5 days old.
But the extensive court records show there was always a battle over the little girl who loved to sing and never gave a problem, according to her grandmother, and posed in a school photo before the pandemic with her favorite characters from the movie Frozen. But because of the domestic violence complaints, which Julius Batiste says are false, he was not allowed to stay in the same household with the child.
They made me choose between my son and my granddaughter. I had to pick the baby.
Jalecia's grandmother told us at first the biological mother used to visit her.
But if that man is 31 years old, why does he live at home with his mom? I'm sorry, that don't even sound right. I'm sorry. It's these type of things that make me, I don't have as much compassion for the father. He's 31 years old. You know how long I've been out on my own? I moved out at age, I think I had just turned 19. I just turned 19. And me and my buddy, shout out to my ex-roommate, he knows who he is, my classmate, my partner. We moved out together at age 19. Me and him both been gone from home since then. I didn't become a father until age 24. This man is 31 years old. And grandmother just said that she had to choose between the baby and her own son because they couldn't stay in the house because of that case, and she chose the granddaughter, and she still lost because the courts, it still ended up giving the biological mother back to giving the baby back to the biological mother. I know this is confusing for some of y'all, and we still need to talk about the mother's 17-year-old son, who was the one who was actually being held responsible for the fatal blows to Jalecia. We haven't even got there yet.
Not allowed to stay in the same household with the child.
They made me choose between my son and my granddaughter. I had to pick the baby.
Jalecia's grandmother told us at first the biological mother used to visit.
And I don't blame her. Like she said, she picked the baby. The baby doesn't have a chance. The dad has already been given a chance to go out and try to become something great, and apparently he has not achieved that. He hasn't even achieved the minimum. I absolutely think grandmother made the right choice in giving that baby a chance.
Visit her little girl here in Brooklyn at the grandmother's apartment, but then the fighting escalated over primary custody. At one point, Julicia was given to her biological mother in 2017, but a follow-up report said removing Julicia from the home of Yolanda Davis was not correct, and the child went back to her paternal grandmother the same year. Then the pandemic hit in March 2020, and the grandmother was notified Julicia would be staying with her biological mother.
She said that the reason why she is on extended visit was because of the pandemic.
Now, a year and a half later, a memorial is growing in the lobby of Mitchell Houses in the Bronx, where Julicia was living with her mother and her older half-brother, who is 17. A source told Pix 11 the teen might have been angry that the little girl was taking snacks early on the morning of Tuesday, August 10th. The New York Post reported the teen brother confessed he hit the little girl 8 times in the face that morning. But those punches are not what caused Julicia Batiste to die.
It really? Do y'all hear that? Listen to this again. Let me make sure y'all could hear this. Maybe y'all couldn't hear it. Let me make sure that the volume works. Hold on. Let me make sure it works.
He hit the little girl 8 times in the...
Listen at this stupid crap again.
Confessed he hit the little girl 8 times in the face that morning.
If you were to hit a grown adult in the face, what do you think would happen? This is a 7-year-old baby. What if you hit an elderly person in the face 7 times? What do you think would happen?
The Post reported the teen brother confessed he hit the little girl 8 times in the face that morning. But those punches are
8 times.
Are not what caused Julicia Batiste to die. A medical examiner told Julicia's grandmother there was evidence of trauma to the little girl's stomach with injuries old and new. I'm Mary Murphy, Pix 11 News.
Injuries old and new. Let me go ahead and give my closing thoughts. I think the biological mother needs more than just jail time. She needs hell time. And let me go ahead and talk about this 17-year-old alleged stepbrother of hers. He needs to be tried as an adult. What do y'all think? He needs to be tried as an adult, and however much time mom gets in prison, which I think mom definitely does need prison, because she went out of her way to take custody of this baby away from the grandmother and cause this baby to die. And also because there are pre-existing injuries, the mother either participated or had to have known about it. And especially the fact that there was at least an occasion where the mom hit this baby with a hammer. That should be a life offense. Why would we ever give any leniency towards somebody who would take a hammer to a child, to any human being? I think if you're a parent who beats your children, you're an idiot. You're stupid. You shouldn't have kids. Any parent who still hits their children after hearing the sound of my voice and us spreading our message, you are an idiot and you need to not have children. Nor should you produce any children if you think that that is the proper behavior to raise a kid. Talking about that's not what caused the baby's death. The hell it wasn't. Matter of fact, did y'all see that story? I can't remember where I saw this news story about this grown man getting sucker punched recently, this year I think. Got sucker punched by another grown man. He got hit 1 time in the face and he died. Tell me y'all heard about that story. A grown man got hit by another grown man in the face and he died from 1 punch. Brain trauma. 17-year-old in a lot of states is considered to be age of consent grown. Big enough, old enough. Basically, a grown adult hit a kid in the face multiple times. And that wasn't what caused the death. Yes, the hell it was. And the fact that the baby has pre-existing injuries, I think the mother should suffer at the behest of all of that. She needs to suffer for the fact that she even lost 4 children previously, and then turn around. And yes, I said that she lost 4 children previously. If you didn't catch that part of the story, then went back to fight this grandmother for custody of a kid that she didn't even love or care about. There's a special place in hell for people like that. In New York, CPS, ACS, or whatever the freak you want to call it, Children's Services, they said that they revamped this system. It don't sound like they've done a good enough job. The fact that you had all of these phone calls that went on deaf ears and deaf actions. Deaf ears and no actions. That should be a criminal offense too, because it cost a child her life for no damn reason, when y'all could have just left her alone with the grandmother and everything would have been fine. Absolutely ridiculous. That baby Jalecia was doomed from the moment that she was born, and that baby, that beautiful baby girl, deserved to grow up and become something great. So Jalecia Batiz, I want to say, young princess, R.I.P. Thank y'all for listening to the story with an open mind as well as an open heart. Thank you.